How's it going, everyone? Today we are cracking the case of Bright Lights because it has won the Lore Booster Box game. Pretty easy here. We're not looking for anything really. We're just going to enjoy this case crack. And as we do, we're going to discuss every story for all the heroes in the set and any missing lore stories that are attached to the set that I haven't discussed yet, which is only one, and it will be called the Dynamic Man. You will see a tag for it during the video. So, alright, enough chit-chatting, let's get cracking here, and I hope you all enjoy.
Everybody has to grow up, even us troublemakers, and especially those with Teklo as a last name. Not that I'm complaining. When Thyru, offered me the assistant position, I jumped at it. The mech mods coming out of the labs puts my accelerator augments to shame. At Teklo Industries, you really can make a difference. I'm making a difference. Besides, working there gives me access to even bigger and better toys. Sure, corporate life has many a dull moment. Times like that, my mind will wander back to the hijinks of my youth with the Rosario kids, especially Rat Boy Ricky. But at least I still have Max to hang with when the need for adventure calls. Max is one out of the box. He's adamant the Iron Assembly is spying on everyone. He says we're all slaved to the systems. Peripherals, driven by ones and zeros. He's always looking over his shoulder, afraid of who's listening and watching. No matter how often I remind him of the wonder all around us, of the breakthroughs and progress throughout the city, the conversation loops. Max ranting about smashing this and that. Turns out he's right and he's wrong. It's not the systems that control us. It's not the technology that controls us. It's our own imaginations, or lack thereof. When you're surrounded by bad ideas, come up with a good one. Follow your curiosity. That's where opportunity lies. I saw an inspiring opportunity, and I took it. I don't know where it'll lead, but that's creativity for you.
Max Nitro, Thrill Seeker, Smash and Grab Specialist, and a right pain in the Teklo family jewels. A force of chaos since his early years, Max is the bane of Metrix law enforcers, pushing all of their limits in the name of riotous fun, picked up off the streets, age 6, and placed into the care of a Rosario orphanage. Max's aptitude for disruption drew the attention of the upper ranks. It wasn't long before he was upgraded to Rosario Hills Institute, where he continued to hone his uncanny ability to hack systems and create mischief. For a while, he was considered a boon for the Institute's faculty members, who studied his special talents until he used those same talents to blow a hole in their outer wall and escape. Max believes that for Metrix to remain the city of wonder that it claims to be, the systems of old need a facelift of the panel beating kind. He has no care for the consequences of his actions and will stop at nothing to bring down every system that binds the city's citizens into servitude. Watch out, Iron Assembly, Cogworks, and Techlo Industries. Max and his flock of disaffected anarchists are headed your way, and they got a taste for destruction. From the age of steam into the age of dynamism, and through to the end of his mortal life, Joel Teklevausen was driven by the power of energy, for he knew that with enough energy, one can do anything that the human mind can conceive of. One can even remake the world. From humble beginnings on the factory floor to head of Metrix, most innovative tech corp, the wide-eyed Imagineer revolutionized the steam and tech industries. Advancements in infrastructure, technology, and Evo development brought about by Techlatic dynamism continue to impact the city in ways once unimaginable. Yet, no matter the gains in his mind, they all fell short of the larger mission. Teklevausen was a true visionary. An untimely accident may have stolen his genius from Metrix. Yet, his blueprints and intentions remain. Techlo Industries continuing to build on his legacy. But if we can only imagine, if we can foresee a future where curiosity outshines conformity, we might wonder if Teklevausen is still out there. We might even imagine his return. If that day should come, Metrix will never be the same. Metrix, a metropolis of imagination, a place where ambition meets innovation and lives are reinvented every single day. In our pioneering past, we welcomed those ready to flee the traditions and oppressions of Arcane Wraith. Together, we built a city where fortunes could be made from the sweat of one's brow and the steam of one's machinery. Metrix has come a long way from those boilerplate beginnings. Technology has advanced in leaps and bounds, drawing a new generation of hopefuls to its bright lights, to promises writ large in glaring neon.
Become more than you are. Become more than human.
One young man understood these promises better than most. Yes, it is true what they say about Joel Teklevausen. He was obsessed with power, but not the paltry, petty power of politics. He was driven by the power of energy, for he knew that, with enough energy, one can do anything that the human mind can conceive of. One can even remake the world. It was in a mothballed corner of the corroding Plumvex Pipes factory. Joule Teklovason created the elegant coils and squat battery that would forever change the course of Metric's history. The potency hissed and spat between those coils, writhing like a netted serpent striving to reach the great blue sea. But Teklovason would not let it free. Instead, he shackled that titanic beast in a 2x2 box. A little treasure chest bursting with enough power to vitalize hundreds of homes, shops, and factories. What did we call this breakthrough invention? Teklatic dynamism, after the boy genius who cracked the secret of the coils. And do you know what Teklovason said once he had doffed his protective eyeglasses? Once he looked upon his creation, this wonder that promised to lift us from the obscuring steam of our industrialist past.
Eat your clockwork heart out, Cogworks. There's a new power in town.
Suspended trams sliced through the steam fog on Teklatic rails overhead. A few blocks away, currents of dynamism transmute helium into plasma at an unprecedented speed, fueling the great Gigadrill elevator as it pounds out Tennyton for the miners who scurry up and down the sheer cliffs of Pit 3. The needle towers over the site office, jagged and patchworked in its unfinished form. It reaches for the clouds with aspiring grace, as if to pin the Teklo Industries brand upon the very fabric of history. A new headquarters to usher in a fresh era for Metrix. Joule Teklovason stands at the epicenter. The Evos he wears automatically steadying his swaying frame as another dizzy spell catches him off guard.
That thing will give everyone vertigo,
says the assembly inspector as he enters the site.
Joking aside, though, are you all right, Professor?
The man sounds generally concerned, but Teklovason can tell from the official's body language that it's feigned.
The sight of it makes me giddy.
He covers. Maybe his bad habits are catching up with him. Over 3 decades of long hours in the laboratory, of living only for the work, no family, no recreation, barely enough time spared to sleep and eat. A life devoted to the founding and building of Teklo Industries. A passion committed to progress. The assembly inspector grins in response. Another feigned gesture. Then turns on his heels to scan the construction.
I need to sign off on your amendments to the upper floor plans,
he says in an appraising tone.
Of course.
Teklovason directs his voice to the prefab office nearby.
Rigo?
The spider bot assistant scuttles out, of the prefab office with Teklovasan's blueprints clutched in its claws. Teklovasan takes the proffered plans and spreads them on the workbench. The inspector eyes the bot warily, taking in its many articulated legs and swiveling eye cameras. The bulbous microprocessor bracketed to its back.
Quite the antique you have there.
Teklovasan absently pats the bot on its spherical appendage, like a father might pat his son on the head.
Rigo's been with me since the very beginning.
It was there when you invented Teklatic dynamism?
Yes. Among others, that I built for the purpose.
The inspector peers more closely at Rigo.
Clockwork and compressed steam? Thought that was more cogwork style.
If it works, it works. I'm not one to shun technology that has survived the test of time.
And that explains the boilers in your basement.
He raises a bushy eyebrow.
Forgive me for saying so, but doesn't that send the wrong message?
Teklovasan manages an indulgent smile.
Teklatic dynamism is potential incarnate, yet energizes of this world fluctuate, attenuate, constellate in patterns far beyond our mundane comprehension.
The inspector looks at him, uncomprehending.
It never hurts to have a reliable backup.
Can't argue with that, Professor.
The inspector returns to the building's plans before him, trying his bureaucratic best to poke holes in Teklovasan's dream.
Theoretically sound. I have no idea how you're actually managing it.
He points at Rigo.
More of these?
After a fashion,
The inspector's brown eyes take on an almost lustful gleam.
I really would like to meet your builders.
Teklovasan rubs the pad of his thumb across his mustache and smiles at Rigo. The spider bot nods his misshapen head in agreement.
quite impossible, Inspector. For what is creativity without a little mystery?
The sphere spins between his metallic palms. Its galvanic potential reflected off the polished carapaces and chassis of the dismembered dolls that litter the old Plumvex workshop.
You'll do!
Admires Teklovasan. He glances across the limbs, busts, and heads of humanoid automations towards rows of spheres, each of a similar likeness, arranged along padded shelves. Every egg contains a yolk of intelligence, each more golden than the last, brighter minds than most humans he has met. Yet, all have fallen short. Too specialized, brilliant at some things, dull at others, and not an ounce of invention among them. Brains for clever bots of brass and bolts, nothing more. With his free hand, he presses at the temple of a copper cranium on his bench. The back of its skull opens to reveal a concave socket of glowing contacts. He places the sphere gently inside. This one is different. A wild experiment. Possibilities unknown. Packed into this perfect microprocessor.
You'll do rather nicely.
He heaves a shuddering sigh of relief. Already, he can feel the thought-choking fog rolling in. The emptying exhaustion that will leave him bedridden for the rest of the day. Perhaps the week. A tumor, inoperable. Nestled like a fat leech against his cortex, sucking away his vitality, his genius. So much to do, yet so little time remaining to him. His intellect has never failed him. His ideas will live on, undying, while there are minds to remember them. But will he live to see those ideas come to fruition? Teklovasan can predict many things, but not that.
See that the iron assembly installs it properly, Rigo.
Rigo whirs and bleeps. Its enthusiasm is echoed by another bot that scuttles out from behind a pile of brass mannequin parts, and other lowering itself from the rafters by a high tensile wire. The chorus continues as bots of all shapes and sizes, intents and purposes, crawl, roll, scuttle, and slide out of the workshop's nooks and crannies to witness Teklovasan's crowning invention. The ailing scientist manages a sickly smile for his automation audience as he cups the skull in his hands and presses its temples with his thumbs. The cranium closes smoothly, concealing the sphere within.
It will be the brains of their operation, their sensory network, their nervous system.
He holds the skull up to his face. Glass eyes stare back. Its strangely coiffed pate gives it a jaunty appearance.
All that this city lives and feels shall be parsed and interpreted in elegant autometry.
Rigo scuttles forward and gently takes the copper head from Teklovasan's hands.
Thank you, Rigo. May their gratitude to Teklo Industries survive the company's founder.
He turns to his console, taps out a code, and hits the execute key. Symbols spray across the screen. He reads quickly, despite the blurry film coating his stinging eyes.
The BioCheek hardware appears to have done the trick. Much better than that MedReach rubbish. The Teklatic generator has achieved perpetuity, and the thermal readings are within sustainable parameters. Although the variance might take time to stabilize, a good thing I had those backup boilers serviced. Wouldn't you all agree?
His bots answer with an assemble of synthesized amity. Music to Teklovasan's ears. He looks out through the workshop window at the needle, glowing gold in the afternoon light, bright and beautiful, a tribute to ideas made manifest. He turns back to his console and stumbles through a series of short commands. The execute key echoes with a hollow finality.
Analysis filters are in place and attuned to key performance indicators. You'll check on them from time to time, won't you, Rigo?
His oldest and most faithful creation bobs its head in abject acknowledgement. Good. Metrics produces a boggling amount of inconsequential data. Yet, if distilled correctly, patiently, the key performance indicators should emerge from the dross.
The city has a long way to go, but it might yet prove itself worthy, in fact.
A gleaming metropolis enters his mind's eye. Towers and tramways shining with techlatic dynamism. Prosperous people strolling along clean streets, no matter their walk of life. They breathe pristine air, chat about creativity and philosophy, while bots do their work and evos sustain their bodies. A metrics, happy in its achievements, a utopia just out of reach.
I'm counting on it.
He yawns, then winces at the sharp pain the movement induces behind his eyes.
Go now, Rigo. Give this brain onto its body corporate. Head straight to your charging station. And, most importantly, don't worry about me.
He smiles at his automations, his gaze lingering upon his lifetime companion.
I'm just going to have a little lie down.
Metrics, a city of imagination. A city where one can become more than human. Such is the case of Jewel Teklovasan. No one knows what caused the explosion. Fire crews worked through the night to douse the inferno. Yet, still the old Plumvex Pipes factory was utterly consumed. No one could have survived that blaze. Not even the building's owner and sole living occupant. An effigy has now been installed upon the site. A bold and brilliant likeness cast in holographic bronze. Teklovasan, the man, might have left Metrics for good, but Teklovasan, the legend, will remain with us forever, instructing and inspiring the brightest minds to come.
And that concludes all the lore that is attached to the Bright Light set. So now we just get to sit back and relax and see what else we end up finding here in this case. So this was a pretty great case. I mean, we found 3 legendaries. We have the plating, we got the Tekla Foundry Heart, and we also found the Shriek Razors, which at least 2 out of the 3 are a pretty good pull. The Shriek Razors I think will be good sometime in the future, but we do have a long way to go for that one. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will start working on the next set for Lord Booster Box game, which is Heavy Hitters. I will see you all then. Take care.